Hey, Professor Venuto, can you hear us?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, great.
Looks like everybody's here.
Yes, sir. We're here. We're ready.
All right, perfect. Well, if you're ready, I can give you just a couple opening remarks and we'll let the show begin. Happy Father's Day to any of you who are fathers or godfathers or whatever situation that kind of gets into the dad realm. So I'm looking forward. Thanks for starting the project presentations. There's always that anxiety being the first or the last. So the good news, you get the first one done and you got most of your work done for the term. So please make sure, and you already started recording, so great. And when you're done with the meeting and you get the recording link, please post that to the week 8 forums, and everybody can, who's not here, the other classmates can take a look at it. It'd also be nice if you can add a copy of your PowerPoint presentation or whatever means you're using. Sometimes it's, I know for my own sake, I like to go back and see some things that I probably might have missed during the presentation. And don't forget too, for the week 8, for the forum, not only do you post this, but you got to make sure you respond to each of the other teams. So, we have a total of 5 teams, so you'll need to respond to all 4 of them. And within that form, you'll be getting questions from the other teams, and you have to respond to at least 2 with some substantive response. And I think 2 is the accomplished, and more than 2 can get you to exemplary. So let's try to see if we can get all those points. So I'm excited. Artificial intelligence is all around us, and I'm looking forward to hearing what your team's going to share. So I will put my mic on mute, and the only thing then at the end, I'll save any questions I have, and we'll go through those questions. If you can't answer the question tonight, it's fine. You can take that and it'll be posted in the forums, and you can you might even want to elaborate on a question once you have.
I did send you a link. I emailed you yesterday to be able to access our Google Docs slides. As far as having it saved on a computer, I'm not really sure if you can do that, but you do have access to the slideshow if you do want to go back and look at it.
I saved it, so I think I'm able to share it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and thank you. I did receive that, Jonah, so appreciate it.
Okay. All right, well, if everybody's ready, we'll get started. One second. All right. All right, we're Team AI, and we're going to be covering artificial intelligence. What is AI? It's defined as the ability of a computer or robot controlled by a computer to do tasks that are usually done by humans because they require human intelligence and discernment. AI technology has made great advancements over the last decade. It's actually been around longer than a decade, but recently it's become more and more popular in all types of different things in today's world. Chances are you've come in contact with AI on a regular basis and you haven't even realized it. And as we're going to talk about in the slideshow, it seems like it's everywhere, from video games to the medical field to industry. The artificial intelligence market was valued at $62.35 billion US in 2020, which that's a huge number, and it's only growing. It's expected to expand by 40.2% from 2021 to 2028. So that's only going to draw more people into that AI market. And next we got Mandy, so you can go ahead.
AI has revolutionized our world, and one of the most significant impacts has been in the field of medicine. If you were to go inside any hospital nationwide or even worldwide, you could see evidence of AI technology's impact. It's progressively changing how patients are diagnosed, treated, and cared for, while empowering those same patients to make a better and more informed medical decision. This type of technology could never replace human touch or empathy, but with that symbiotic relationship between the technology and those humans or physicians, clinical staff, the ability to eliminate human error and misdiagnosis is actually now very possible. Most medical fields have already begun experiencing this positive outcome from AI technology use. Although I'm going to only go over 4 standout areas for AI significant impact. And those are going to be the pharmaceuticals, diagnostics, data analysis, and surgical. Next. Pharmaceuticals is a huge area that it's kind of behind the scenes, we don't see as much. But with pharmaceuticals, AI application is now possible to determine which medications will aid in the best recovery, and at the same time, which medications will cause interactions. This ability to find the right treatment option for the patient can even lead to patient-specific drug therapies. And that's a process where they design the best drug makeup for a specific patient based on their chemical makeup and specific diagnosis. It doesn't stop there though. It also has another even more impactful design in new drug discovery. The vast number of chemical possibilities that make it difficult and time consuming for new drug development, AI can easily identify those potential compounds and even provide a more timely validation of the target drug makeup. With this technology, prediction of new drug molecule properties, bioavailability, toxicity, and even drug protein interactions are done with ease and precision. Clinical trials are another big one. It takes 6 to 7 years for drug safety and efficacy to be tested and determined. But roughly in that time frame, only 1 out of 10 trials are successful. One major contributor for the failures is inappropriate patient selection. And this is where AI can be most useful by collecting the massive amounts of patient medical data and then ensuring the selection of appropriate patient candidacy. This alone has led to an almost 86% reduction in clinical trial failures. Next. The difference between life and death is never more apparent than when it comes to accurate and timely diagnosis. AI technology assisted diagnostics is far superior to human alone, and it leads to more successful outcomes. There are so many applications for AI in diagnostics that it will be impossible to acknowledge them all. Here are just a few that I found the most amazing with the most impact. In one comparison study between AI identification and human physician identification of abnormal cell growth, which is what they use to look for potential cancers, AI outperformed physicians in 17 out of the 18 cases. That is huge. Another case or another situation is dementia and Alzheimer's. They are both progressively debilitating diseases that destroy the memory and cognitive functions of the brain. And it is currently the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. With AI-assisted FDG PET scans, they are now capable of detecting early onset dementia before any clinical symptoms are even present through pattern recognition. This early detection allows patients to start treatment regimes designed to slow the progression of the disease much more sooner than previously waiting for those clinical indicators to show up. And it can lead to a much more prolonged life and fulfilled life. Another application is in the LINA. It's a lymph node assistant algorithm that was created by Google researchers for the purpose of identifying cancerous versus non-cancerous breast tissues from histology slides, which are tissue samples that have been prepared and stained. And this is done with a 99% accuracy. Even with this remarkable accuracy, rating it still cuts the detection time down by half from all the previous methods. Another method is with AI deep learning. It is able to predict accurate ALS survival categories in 84.4% of the cases out of 135 in the test group. This type of diagnosis carries with it such a grave outcome, but with better survival category prognostics, this allows the medical team and family to be more prepared for the future needs of the patient and the expectations of future progression timeline. With this cutting edge imaging technology, it's possible for doctors to also obtain 3D images of our internal organs. This type of detail assists doctors in surgical procedures by having a real life-size image of the organ with all the infrastructures inside. It reduces intraoperative complications. And there are even some of the very beginning or infancy stages, new technologies that are capable of 3D printing these organs. And it is said that there's predictions that one day it may be able to revolutionize the world of organ donation. Next. Data analytics. Here's a quote from Wheat. Data is the most valuable currency in every industry. It is the foundation for IT, innovation, business growth, and for the life sciences sectors in saving lives. One of the most impactful limitations in medicine is the considerable amount of data, which is impossible for doctors or clinical teams to read and search through in a timely manner in order to make a proper diagnosis. With AI technology, big data is no longer a problem. In fact, the more data, the better the AI systems work. In patient care, this is a tremendous advantage for proper diagnostics and tailored treatment plans that increase patient outcomes. With unique medical algorithms, AI machines use data analytics to identify patterns in patient information, radiographs, and other clinical data, leading to a quicker, more accurate diagnosis and treatment, as well as a reduction in hospitalizations. Our electronic world has changed how we do almost everything. This is so true for the medical records as well. No longer are your medical charts and records simply a piece of paper that your doctor or nurse handwrites or types up. All phone calls, visits, even telehealth visits to any doctor or hospital are now recorded via computer with a software system designed specifically for medical records called EMR, or electronic medical records. This also ensures HIPAA standards are maintained and your patient information is kept safe. In the United States, most hospital and doctor's offices use the same or very similar software, or at least compatible software that can share information and talk to one another. This ability allows for doctors to have the most updated patient medical history from all the doctors caring for the patient. And one big advantage to this is reducing the over-medication and drug interactions from multiple doctors prescribing different medications for different ailments. The biggest of all impacts to medicine must be in the ability of AI to combine data and analyze the whole picture of the patient. It can effectively and efficiently combine all of the patient's medical data, whether it's structured or unstructured, collected via the EMR, along with the data that's contained in medical journals and clinical trials, as well as all available treatment options. And this assists the patient and the doctor in making the best care plan and increasing the patient outcomes. Next. While there are many different applications in robotics used in the operating rooms around the world, one of the most notable surgical robotics is the Da Vinci robotic surgical assistants. While the Da Vinci is normally used in minimally invasive surgical procedures, it has also saved soldiers' lives. One of the leading causes of death for our injured soldiers is trauma and uncontrolled bleeding. This amazing robot has been used on soldiers in remote locations that need life-saving surgical intervention, while the surgeon was 1,000 miles away using the Da Vinci remote controls and telemedicine to stay connected to the surgical team. The Da Vinci robotic surgical assistant is used daily around the nation in a variety of surgical procedures. It enables the doctors to perform what were once major open surgeries now to be minimally invasive, which means a very small, only 1 to 2 inch incision. It gives the surgeon unparalleled control with superior magnification and precise cutting, while also reducing intraoperative complications. It reduces hospital stays by reducing the surgical impact on the patient's body. For the same reason, it also decreases recovery time and pain. There's also a notable reduction in post-op complications. One of the main reasons for this is due to the decrease in tissue and organ exposure to the air.
And now we're going to transition from medicine into industry. AI has changed how the industry and manufacturing operate around the world. I mean, it's completely revolutionized the way that we manufacture things. AI robotics is an example of that. And now AI can perform dangerous tasks that were once done by humans. So as an example, I mean, where I work at an engineered wood mill. And we work with a robot that it applies side covers, which is cardboard, onto stacks of OSB, and it also paints them. That used to be done by humans, and there was a lot of pinch points, there's conveyors, and people were jumping in and out of those before we had this robot, and people did get hurt, and that's a big reason why they brought the robot into it. It increases production and does it more safely and effectively. Most AI robotics are capable of performing a self-diagnostic that alerts humans of any issues that may be arising. And that's definitely a plus. The AI in the robot is actually capable of teaching itself if it comes in a situation that it's never been in before. Used to, you'd have to have a human that would have to go in and reprogram it, and that takes a lot of time. But now it can be in different situations and it's able to teach itself, which is crazy. A downside to the robot is now that everything has been retrofitted for that robot. Now, when that robot goes down for any reason, whether that be electrical or mechanical, it's harder to get back on pace and be able to get that robot running again, and then that decreases production. So that's where maintenance comes into play, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Quality control. Quality inspections that used to be done with human eyes can now be done using advanced AI programs. As you can see in that image right there, that line is actually moving very fast. So a human standing there inspecting these visually would probably miss something like that bottle cap being off of that bottle. So then you're gonna have that bottle shipped out into the field, and somebody's gonna have that cap loose and it'll spill everywhere, or it'll be empty by the time it gets to them. And that's just going to look bad upon that company. So using AI for quality control has definitely been a huge benefit. Using AI to perform inspections is much faster and it's much more accurate. It can be used to inspect just about anything: food, mechanical parts, even recycling, sorting through recycling, taking your plastic and your metal out of the trash. AI systems can utilize multiple programs to ensure a full inspection of the product. I actually work with AI quality, a quality control program also, and it grades OSB. We run multiple different products that look different and can have different types of discrepancies depending on the product, and it's capable of knowing which product is running, the conditions, the moisture, and it looks for a percentage of a certain discrepancy, and then it'll downgrade it on its own. It's actually really cool to watch. And then predictive maintenance. Many industries use AI to organize maintenance schedules and predict when parts are more likely to fail. This is huge. If you've ever worked or been in contact with a large manufacturing operation, maintenance is key to doing well and being productive. Because even if you have a really good maintenance team, it can still be really overwhelming to maintain everything. There's so many different moving parts that it's hard to catch everything, and AI only makes that easier. The AI programs read sensors and diagnostic data from all the equipment in a manufacturing facility. So if they have it outfitted to have sensors being able to read all the different diagnostics, it calculates when maintenance should be done on certain pieces of equipment. So that takes the guesswork out of humans trying to figure out when they should maintain something before it fails. They use trends the usage of the equipment or the material that it's made out of, the AI automatically considers that. And like I said, it takes the guesswork and the human error out of it. And I know working in a manufacturing facility, if you don't maintain the equipment like it should be or when it's supposed to be done, it can cause a lot of downtime. That company loses a lot of money. So that's a definite benefit to using AI. And lastly, supply chains. That's another thing in just about any kind of manufacturing facility. There's the supply chains can be humongous from all around the world, all different types of products. AI can actually analyze the data from the past to predict the future. So as you can see from the graphic there, if you put in your shipment history, your store ordering history, it can actually make an algorithmic forecast and be able to do that completely on its own. They can keep track of your inventory already and automatically order supplies when they get low. So if you use any kind of, we use a scanning system for our inventory, the AI is gonna keep track of that in its program and know when you're low on a certain supply, it'll automatically order. It can save industries money and downtime by keeping the supplies on hand for the best price. And definitely in a lot of things, especially in today's world, computer chips are in definite short supply. So the AI can help companies that manufacture these computer chips know when the best price is for the supplies they need for that and where they're at. Now we've got video games, so go ahead.
So artificial intelligence in video games has come a long way over the past few decades. Almost all video games use some form of artificial intelligence, and as each year passes, it just gets more and more sophisticated. So the purpose of AI in video games is to keep the game more realistic and more interesting. And the AIs, they are able to make decisions based on the information that is provided to it. For instance, a game like Grand Theft Auto, you can, if you're driving down the road and you break a traffic law or jump out of the car and injure somebody, the cops are able to understand that in the video games and come after you. They're able to understand that what you did was wrong and then do their role in the game. But there's also a fine line with certain games, Call of Duty being one, or Halo. I think those are two popular games nowadays. You can't make it so the AIs are too smart, because then they'll be able to understand and adapt to what you're doing in a more extreme sense. And then it could become extremely difficult or even impossible to get to the next level or to beat them or beat the game. Next. So the history of AI in video games. So I think we all remember Pong when we were younger. It was one of the first games to use some form of artificial intelligence. And even though you were playing against the computer was able to understand the moves that you were making and react as a result of that. So for instance, when the dot was coming towards you, it could understand the placement that on the paddle where it hit and then the angle, and it was able to move its paddle to react to that. So that way it was able to hit it back and continue the game. And when you have something like that, you almost forget you're playing against the computer. Yeah, it actually makes you feel like you're playing against an opponent. Another example would be Pac-Man, which I think all of us remember that too. So when you're running around collecting all the little dots and eating them, there's a bunch of ghosts that chase after you. And this also made it feel like you were playing against another person, not just the computer. And so the AIs, the ghosts, were able to understand the direction that you were moving in. And then if there was barriers to where you couldn't continue any further in one direction, it was able to understand that and then make decisions based on that to where they needed to go in order to get you, to try to defeat you. Next. So modern day AI in video games. So back to Grand Theft Auto, that seems to be one of the more advanced video games with AI. And it's also, Grand Theft Auto's also one of the more lifelike and realistic video games. And it's so advanced and lifelike that it almost makes you feel like you're actually in the game. Going back to what I was saying earlier, different characters in the game are able to make decisions based off what you're doing. So if you run a red light or you run somebody over with a car, a cop's able to understand that and then come chase after you. And the technology that they use in Grand Theft Auto is actually being used in real life to test self-driving cars. And by doing that, it allows them to test it more safely and faster. So, and then beyond video games, the makers of Grand Theft Auto are also starting to use a program that's by Intel, and it's called Enhancing Photorealism Enhancement. And what that does is it's a program that converts your standard graphics into photorealistic images using artificial intelligence. And so what it does is it fills many smaller details like reflections in a window or like lush grass. It gives them significantly more detail. And I tried posting a picture of it on here, but it would not allow me to. But for instance, when you're playing a video game, it's generally like a little more brighter, like it's a little bit has that animated feel to it, even the more realistic ones. But with this enhancing photorealism enhancement, it almost gives it the same shade that the human eye sees in real life, which really does make it almost like you're there and not just a video game. Next. So the future of AI in video games. So many experts actually think that in the coming decades, AI will advance so much that video game developers will actually be able to create a virtual world where you could do anything in the virtual world that you could do in real life. And they're already kind of working on that. I know there's goggles or masks that you can put over your face to go into a virtual world. But it's I think you're limited as to what all you can do there. But it's over the next decades, they're expecting it to be so advanced that you can literally do anything you'd want to on it. So I can't even imagine how far they'll be able to take video games with this kind of technology nowadays. And also it will allow people to be able to do practically anything in a virtual world. It will allow people to put themselves in situations virtually to really test themselves mentally. So something that they might be afraid to do in real life or something, we'll say skydiving. They could do it in a virtual world, and although they wouldn't actually be falling, they could make it feel almost as if you were, to kind of give them an idea of how they would react in that kind of scenario. Next.
Good evening, class. This is Stephen Jimenez. I will be presenting for this next period. My presentation slides are going to be focused around artificial intelligence, or AI, in smartphones. So first, I would like to introduce cellular AI. Now, it really is quite astounding how smartphones have become a staple in today's society. They are arguably one of the most adopted technological advancements in human history. And the most fascinating thing about this is the fact that everyone's smartphone, possibly the one that's in your pocket right now, is constantly sending and receiving data to improve upon itself. So the artificial intelligence that you have in your smartphone today will be entirely different than the artificial intelligence that will be working on that same phone in just a year from now. Next slide. So first, what I'd like to expound upon in artificial intelligence is 5G. So if you're not really familiar with 5G, 5G is the 5th generation of broadband connectivity that allows your cell phone to basically connect to the internet, make phone calls, send text messages, anything that you would do with your cell phone. 5G is going to be the next generation that allows it. So where artificial intelligence takes place with 5G is quite interesting, really. So 5G is not necessarily adopted throughout the entirety of the United States. It is still a new technology. So there are various 4G towers that are still around. So let me give you an example. If there's a 5G tower that doesn't exactly quite have line of sight to you and is a weaker connection, the artificial intelligence in your phone will be able to realize that there is a 4G tower that, even though may be a little bit more far away, will have a stronger and more stable connection. The artificial intelligence in your phone will realize this, switch cell towers, and then begin using which connection will be better suited for where you are in that time and space. And this is a process that happens continuously and without any user input, and really is quite a marvel of the capabilities of the technologies in AI in smartphones. Next slide, please. Now, just as I was speaking upon your phone sending and receiving data, I would really like to touch on that in regard to smartphone AI in navigation. So I am not necessarily sure if any of you remember printing out MapQuests and having to read those instructions line by line, but where we are now in regard to where we are then, your cell phone is consistently using the information that is around you to send back to servers such as Google or Apple to give you real life information in time and space where you are. These applications have begun to be so sophisticated to where they could even tell you if like a police officer is on your way to work or wherever your destination is. This is all because each smartphone that is connected to these applications is consistently sending and receiving data that is available for everyone who uses this application. And the artificial intelligence that takes place with these applications happens without any user input. We are essentially all connected and helping each other out without even knowing it, which I think is pretty awesome. Next slide, please. Now, one of the most fascinating progressions of AI in smartphones that has recently taken place is Apple AirTags. So if you're not familiar with Apple. They make the iPhone. And what is really interesting about this is an AirTag is basically the size of a quarter. Now you can connect this AirTag to anything that you would not like to get lost. So you can place it on your keys, you can place it on your pet's collar, you could have one in your wallet, whatever you'd like. And what really makes this interesting is each Apple AirTag is able to send an encrypted ping to another iPhone that's approximately 30 feet from it to send you, the user, the owner of the AirTag, the exact location of that AirTag. So hypothetically, if I were to go to the park and lose my keys there, as long as someone with either an iPhone, a Mac, or anything on the Apple network senses or pings that AirTag, it can send you the exact location of where that AirTag is, all via Apple's secured and encrypted network. And this is just another amazing feat that artificial intelligence has been able to provide today's society. And I think that it is just truly amazing. And I am really enthusiastic to see where artificial intelligence and smartphones takes us in the near future. Thank you.
All right, and I will be talking about artificial intelligence in vehicles. Self-driving vehicles are rapidly taking over the roadways with the advancements in AI. Self-driving cars are possible today due to 3 technologies: IoT sensors. The sensors are used for monitoring blind spots, forward collision warning, radar, camera, LiDAR, and ultrasonic. Together, these features make navigation possible. IoT connectivity. Cloud computing is used to track weather, maps, traffic data, adjacent cars, and road surface conditions, and software algorithms. Possibly the most important feature, the data that is collected controls the algorithms of the car. This allows the vehicle to make decisions flawlessly. The use of cameras, ultrasonic sensors, and radar process the car's surroundings in a matter of milliseconds. The radar measures the distance around the vehicle in light, dark, and different weather conditions. Ultrasonic measures the proximity around the vehicle, and using a passive video can recognize objects around the vehicle, ensuring a safe drive. Next slide. Tesla is taking the lead in self-driving cars with their latest artificial intelligence technology, Autopilot. The Autopilot feature has been built into Tesla vehicles since 2016. It controls steering, acceleration, and automatic braking using sophisticated cameras to view the vehicle's surroundings. Tesla automotives are made with 2 AI chips, also known as dual chips, to access traffic and any harm that may surround the vehicle. The Tesla chips have a processor that runs at 2 gigahertz and can perform up to 36 trillion operations per second. With the dual chips making separate assessments at the same time, we can rest assured that Tesla has better and safer navigation. 360-degree visualization ensures the vehicle has every angle covered. There are 8 cameras that see up to 250 meters surrounding the vehicle. All right, next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Tesla requires drivers to keep hands on the steering wheel in case intervention is needed. If hands are not on the steering wheel, drivers are reminded to do so. If the driver does not follow the reminder, the car will slow down and then come to a stop. Okay, next slide. Driver assistant features are becoming more popular in modern vehicles. Many newer vehicles have a GPS system built in. This uses AI to determine the best route possible. Within the system, a satellite is used to determine the vehicle's exact location, and from there, AI can determine the fastest way to get from point A to point B, including alerting of accidents ahead or roadwork ahead. Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, or ADAS, is designed to prevent common accidents caused by human error by alerting the driver of possible dangers. This includes blind spot monitoring, backup notification, drifting out of the lane warning, and correction. detecting pedestrians and avoiding them, traffic sign recognition, and automatic emergency braking. Okay, next slide. All right, over 90% of accidents on the road are caused by human error. The three main causes are, excuse me, are speeding, impaired driving, and distracted driving. In 2016, the United States had 37,461 deaths due to car accidents. Self-driving cars are predicted to eliminate 94% of vehicle-related accidents. This means in a 10-year span, over 350,000 deaths could be prevented. So basically, by eliminating human error, we create a safer driving experience for everyone. Thank you.
So in conclusion, artificial intelligence has made humans safer, more productive, and more profitable. As AI progresses, more careers will open up to create and maintain this technology. Although there's pros and cons, the results have been overwhelmingly positive. AI is used in a large variety of ways, from helping save lives in the medical field to making sure your GPS takes you the fastest and safest way to your destination. Not everyone realizes that AI is already a part of their daily lives, and I'll admit that I didn't know how much it actually was in our lives until we did this presentation. Most of the ads that you see on social media every day, as an example, are targeting you specifically using AI technology based off of your search history. And it's only going to increase its presence in the future. Here's our references. And I know we went over our time limit a little bit, but do we have any questions?
Let me just say that this was an outstanding presentation. You guys did a lot of research, and your slides were, they conveyed the information. The images were supportive. They were cited, and you demonstrated with your references. So that's, really, and hats off to everybody who worked on this. I know there's a lot of reluctance with the team project. A lot of you signed up to go online school, and one of the things that usually is on your own, and this is unusual. There's not any other course that I'm aware of that uses the group team projects, but you guys overcame all the obstacles and barriers as demonstrated by your presentation. So I've got a couple of questions. This is I'm just going to throw this one out. This is anybody who wants to handle it, but what do you think would be the best degree to obtain, degree program to work in the field, with AI development applications?
I feel like I could take this one if no one else would like to.
Sure, go ahead.
So in my personal opinion, the best degree field to go in regard to artificial intelligence would be software development and computer sciences, because the main driving force behind artificial intelligence is the code that is written that enables artificial intelligence to make these decisions. Because every kind of instance where artificial intelligence takes place, it receives a stimulus and then makes an action based off of that stimulus. So when you are coding, basically creating Boolean statements, when you receive a stimulus, you are coding whatever it is, be it a smartphone or a car, to do one thing or another. And that is why I think that a degree in network development, coding development, software development would be one of the best routes to take.
Thanks, Stephen.
Mhm.
Mandy, I had a question, and I don't know. I know you mentioned that you might be doing this in your car.
No, I'm not. That got canceled.
Okay, I was gonna say you could use a self-driving car with AI, but no problem.
Not there yet.
No, okay, good. Well, but and I know you said you're gonna have, I guess, your son drive you.
Yes.
So if that, it kind of like, that's gonna be interesting. But okay, good. No, you talked about artificial intelligence speeding up drug review. Did you get anything in your research about COVID-19 and the really fast development and assurances with the, you know, the vaccines.
So there was actually a lot written about the COVID vaccine. I tried to steer away from it this time because I've done research on it previously. It definitely was not the 6 to 7 years. They're trying to say that the reason why that it is safe for us to use now is because they had so many patients to work on. And the cases are the prime, that's what they need. So that they are able to test it, see if it works, see if it's effective, and then move on. What they cannot tell you, there is just impossible at this point, is the long-term effects, which is what we kind of all know and see. But I didn't read specifically, they did mention it, and I can go back and kind of look that up on that variation. But I know for the FDA and for just clinical trials guidelines and just what their standard of practice and best practice is that 6 to 7 years, which is way off the mark from what the COVID vaccine was.
There was a wonderful show on PBS, I think last month. It was a 4-part show called On Longevity. And one of the sections was on medicine. And they talked a lot about what you mentioned today, especially about how, you know, fast forward in the ability of AI to do the assessments, the clinical trials, speeding that up. If that's something you guys ever get a chance to view on PBS, I'd highly recommend it.
I'll have to look at. I know I saved the where you told me about it. I just haven't had a chance. But it is amazing. I think there's a lot of reservations in the medical professions. A lot of those the professionals and the doctors are a little leery to accept help. They're not the best known to ask for help to begin with, but let alone I think is for job security, they're afraid. But from all my research, everything, AI will never take over, like I said, that human touch, that empathy, it can't.
Right.
So it is really designed and meant to work together with physicians. And personally, from working in the hospital and working in medicine for pretty much my whole life, I'm here to tell you all of this stuff I've seen firsthand, and how those negative impacts where they don't have the software and the ability for that AI can easily come through all this huge data, and they're trying to guess at, okay, let's try this because this isn't working, or this lab value is this. They don't have that big picture to make the best diagnosis. And I am really hopeful to see this change over in the future of this becoming more mainstream. I think it will save a lot of lives.
Yeah, good. Thank you for that. Jonah, so really interesting about AI in the industry. When you were talking about predictive maintenance, so does that now get us to a point where, you know, typically in a factory, you have to maintain, you know, a machine, and it's every, you know, so many times it's being used, or how many months between, you know, the maintenance. So with this predictive maintenance, can it make it more like a real time, like, okay, you know, this machine needs to be serviced, and instead of just having it on a regular periodic schedule, will it be now done because of demand and needs to be, you know, worked on?
Absolutely. That's a great question, because in my experience, like as right now where I work, we'll shut down for 8 hours every Wednesday for the most part. So, and that's normally for about 8 hours. And they're normally going through on a schedule, doing preventative maintenance just on the same things over and over. But there's things that we can't see, bearings, especially internal bearings, they could be going bad and you have no idea. A human can't know that until it breaks. So if you've got sensors that can run diagnostics and temperature checks, that AI can tell the maintenance department, hey, you know, this bearing's running hot, or we're getting a bad vibration out of this equipment. So they could temporarily shut that piece of equipment down rather than waiting for the normal maintenance time to shut it down. And that would end up actually saving production time because there could be a catastrophic failure and then it's going to put the entire production down and you're going to end up losing more money. So absolutely, AI would definitely help in knowing right then and there that this piece of equipment needs help right now.
Yeah, and one of the problems that I faced a lot in my career was heavy equipment would leak. You know, they would, I think weekly, some piece of equipment would bust a hydraulic line or a coolant line. And if there was some way that they could, predict that, I mean, it's a little different. It maybe bleeds over a little bit that Emily's talking on, AI cars. But that sure could have saved a lot of oil spills and cleanup and, work stoppages. So yeah, that's really, I mean, it's just amazing. And it's exciting to hear all this. I've got a question for Matt on the video games and the virtual reality, and I kind of touch on what Mandy was saying, but can you see these virtual realities or video games helping people, especially as they get older, maintaining their cognitive, abilities? I don't know. Did you run into anything like that where, these could be used to help people?
Yeah, I didn't really come across any information that was more geared towards that direction. Personally, though, I mean, if with how much everything's advancing and whatnot, I could see. I mean, I think it's definitely possible that it goes that route, and it can be beneficial for maybe older people with to help out cognitively.
You also mentioned about how the artificial intelligence could be too smart.
Yes.
Make it so a game, you're never going to advance to that next level. And what is it that, I mean, how do they put those limits on there? Do you know?
I'm not entirely sure. I remember reading because that was one of the challenges, that because you don't want to go like too overboard with it. I don't know. I don't recall like the details on how they prevent the AIs from becoming too smart. So that's something I'd have to dig into a little bit deeper.
Okay, maybe we can put something on the forums, we find something out like that. But
Yeah.
But thanks. I mean, looking at your Pong image, you reminded me of the days when I was going to college, and you didn't have video games at home, so they were at the local bars and playing those. So good.
Oh yeah.
Good memories. Emily, yeah, cars and AI is just amazing. Just what's happened over the last couple of years. What about the threat of hacking into these systems? Did you come into anything like that? And
Honestly, no, I didn't even think to look into that. So I don't really have any information about that, but I would love to research it and find an answer for you.
okay, I'll just put that question then for you, Matt, and everybody else. You guys, and you guys all did a great job, and you did a good job on the answering the questions, and the presentation was professional. I can't say enough good things about it. I can tell you, I'll be giving you your feedback, over the next couple of days. But thank you for an informative. I learned from these presentations, and I just commend the performance.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That means a lot.
Yeah, well, so I know, like you said, we run over, which is not a problem for me anyways, but do you have any questions about the presentation, about the course, anything while you have me?
I think I'm
I
good.
thought I was very pleasantly surprised on the team project. I was dreading it and I was like, I don't know about this. And it was a wonderful experience, and getting to know different people and talk with them in the way they do their research and what they find out. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it turned out, you know, I mean, I try to do the teams by mostly time zones and see maybe if you got some, you know, overlapping interest in what your degree program is. But it's a bit of a, you know, it's a kind of a crapshoot because you don't know, you know, sometimes people lead the course. Sometimes some people don't do as much of the work, but it looks like, you know, your team turned out to be, you know, just one that just gelled, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. You know, and you get to know people, you know, because, you know, typically in a brick and mortar school, you do get to know your fellow students. So a little bit to know other people. Hopefully that helped with your experience at American Military University. So. Well, I won't keep you guys anymore. It's Sunday night, and I'm sure everybody's got a busy Monday coming up. So thanks again, and look forward to seeing what the other students have to say about your presentation.
Thank you,
Thank you so
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Take care.
Everyone have a great week.
Mhm.
You too.